It'll be okay this time. No. What's going on?
Hey, well, the
What's
music's
going
still
on?
playing, I think.
Oh, it is. Oops.
Well, copyright lab. We do not own any rights to the song.
And if we don't put that in the caption, YouTube does not care. No, I'm kidding. But what's up, y'all? What's poppin'? Happy Saturday. And I appreciate y'all tuning in today. Good morning. I got the me and my wife cup today. You know what I'm saying? We
Good
outside.
morning.
Coffee.
That is so cute. I can't. It's just adorable.
Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to my mother-in-law. Get you a family member that works at Light Touch. Get everything. But in that though, what am I gonna say? Four chapters, 4 and 5. We talking about today?
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
Chapter 4 is the history of taxes and the power of corporations. And then chapter 5 is the rich invent money. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to hear everybody's take on what stood out to them as we are coming towards the back half of this book. And yeah, I'm grateful for us honestly just being intentional and just showing up to discuss it. It was funny because at first it was just me, Sam, and Mikhail. So we were like, all right, let's just vibe out and then we'll just have this discussion. So I appreciate y'all tuning in because I really do enjoy whenever we have multiple masterminds coming together to understand something in different points of views. You're able to see a better picture of what you're actually looking at because you've got the different angles of what it is that you're reading. So I hope you guys have been enjoying y'all's revelations. I know a lot of you guys have already read the book, and this is not your first time in going over these lessons or these topics. But I really do feel like as we've all grown over the last 365 since we've read this book, the application of the principles can really do something significant in a very short amount of time. So yeah, whoever wants to kick us off, and then we will dive into the convo.
I'll go first. So I like
Thanks, for
chapter 4 and 5 a lot. The history of taxes uh, was really interesting because this time when I read it, I like did more research. It talked about, if I can remember the names, the talked about the laws that were passed that explained the how taxes came to be. Like America used to be anti-tax, and the government basically tricked the people into thinking that taxes were gonna solve like we're gonna tax the rich and it's gonna make life better. And the rich just like found a loophole to get around paying taxes. And so it ended up affecting the people who voted for it, the poor middle class. And like you see that aftermath today. People complain about how much they pay in taxes and like when they get their paycheck, their property tax, like all these things. And going back in history, like we're the people who wanted the taxes because the tax was supposed to be for the rich. And so I had did a deep dive on that, and it just was enlightening to learn about that information. And the whole idea of the Robin Hood mentality, talked about that in chapter 4 too, how take from the rich, give to the poor. But the poor, or I mean, the rich people don't play by the same by that game. They don't play by the same rules. Like they they like I said before, they find loopholes. They get connected. What did he say? I can't remember because it's been a couple weeks since I read this now. But rich people will use their resources by finding like a lawyer and a accountant and a they'll get in with the government to help change the laws of the government. Like they'll do all these things um that poor people don't do. Like we first of all like don't have the financial, not we poor because I'm not poor, but the poor people, they don't have the the means to like just hire a lawyer to help them get out of a situation, right? And the other thing too is that like poor people are kept poor by being stuck in the cycle of like busyness, busy work. Um, Like they don't, or people don't invest in their education. They may go to school, go to college, get a 4-year degree, get into a career, but they don't invest in their education like past that because like our society doesn't emphasize the importance of that. Um, and so rich people, on the other hand, will like invest. Robert Kiyosaki repeatedly emphasizes how he continues to invest in his education, like and learning more and more and more about investing and more about assets because that's what builds it, and things are always changing. So I think that was my biggest takeaway from that chapter. And then chapter 5 about how the rich invent money, like he talked about poor people work for money and rich people make money. And that was really powerful because he also talks about how money isn't real. Like his rich dad was explaining, once you can conceptualize that money isn't real, then you can start to make it. And he talked about how him and his friend got really close to making money when they were making those plaster Paris mud like coins or whatever, because they were like they took it very literally, like they actually made money. But like that is a very good metaphor for like how rich invent money, because it like money gets printed, it's and the only value that it has is what we agree that it has. And so we were talking about that like when we started reading the book. And uh yeah, I don't know, like he talked about the that I think the fear that holds people back too. Like he talked about how he would observe students in school, like watching them like know the answers, but being afraid to like speak up and like say the answers because like we don't. Um, it's not like encouraged for people to like speak up and ask questions and talk about things that we know. Like we're supposed to just like shut up and listen and receive the lecture or whatever. And so in school trains us to not be the type of people who act on our courage to take risks, and talked about how everything in life is risky. Like choose your risk. Talked about learning to manage the risk, which was really important too. Um, and I think that's really all I have to say. I'll pass it to Sam.
Thank you, Rashizi. That was great points. Good morning, y'all. Yeah, I think this book really just, man, you really said it on a lot of things I was feeling and thinking too. Like, I guess you can call it, what we're woke now. That's what the kids would call it. Like, we understand that, they definitely, like Rose said, in school, they're teaching us what they want to teach us. It's all been programmed by the government, by the states themselves. Because if you want your people to succeed, you would teach them financial literacy, and that's what we're doing here. We're teaching our people financial literacy, even to understand just the questions to be asked. Like a good question he tells us to think is, who's profiting off of this? Like everything you do, just understand somebody's profiting off of this. Are we consuming or are we gaining from this? Because he really emphasizes, to build a personal asset column. You really want your money working for you because, like Rose said, we've just been accustomed and maybe designed to just trade our time for money, go to work so we can get paid on Friday. And then because we got to pay our bills on Monday, and then on Saturday and Sunday, that's all I have. So I'm going to go out and spend money and do it. So it's just a cycle that, personally growing up in my family, you're not having money, you really you learn to appreciate things differently and also see things differently because that's all you see. And so, you see money as as a way to survive and to obtain rather as a tool to help you gain more monies. I know a lot of wealthy like to not spend money until they have their money make babies for them, and then they spend the money with the babies from the money their money has made for them. So it really is, assets like real estate or royalties or, you know, things of that nature, because, you know, we really had the mindset of like, a paycheck builds a lifestyle, but it's not going to build a legacy. That's what we're doing here. So we need to really identify wealth generators, like stocks, just, whether the market's up or down, you just invest, little by little, and then you'll see the accumulation of compound. Because if you don't understand compound interest, then you're working for it. It's really working you if you don't understand. So the what's it called? The understanding, the understand um financial literacy, it's not greedy, and like or understanding the tax code as well, and like understanding how the rich are having tax breaks, and we have this stigma, this persona of them that they're doing something wrong, but it isn't greedy, it's smart, understanding that and learning that, it's really what it's really smart. It's really what, however you want to look at it. It's not, if it's not illegal or hurting anybody, we see it as bad, but I mean, there's tax breaks for the wealthy to keep the middle class exactly where they are, because all of this is designed. So I really feel this book, on the overlaying message is just, if you don't deep dive deep down, because I know this is the second time that I've been reading this book. So I remember the first level was just to open your eyes and to understand that if you don't know what financial literacy is, here are the questions to get you to understand financial literacy, and then you can learn what it really is. So I appreciate all y'all's takes. That's really really what I'm getting from the book, is that it really is just to open your eyes and help you see money as a tool and just the whole system, to understand it so you can really see it differently. So that's why I really appreciate this book. But let me see who else is. My girl Amani, if I could popcorn you. Let's go. Appreciate y'all.
Good morning. Amazing takes so far, y'all. Um, oh, Ro, do you want to say it right now? Because I can wait for you. Okay. Okay. Um, so, okay, reading this book, Sam, this is my third time reading it, and you're right. Like, the more and more you read it, what is it, Mikkel? It's not about how many books you read, it's about reading the right books. No, I don't know how you say it, but that like something like that. Um, it's so true because like now these chapters, I'm seeing it in such a different perspective. Like I feel like the pieces have connected officially. Like the first time I read it, okay, I yes. The first time I read it, it was like Sam said, it's about, like getting, I guess, putting your foot in the water, seeing what's up. And then the second time is really like the message is starting to, it really sinks in. But this time I feel like officially I can understand. And like right now, the necessity for education is crazy. Like government public education is definitely geared towards making people work for money, unfortunately. And it's so crucial now that our country is like, I mean, turning into an oligarchy where corporations really are running everything. And that just sucks. Excuse my French, but that it sucks. It really does. So, like, how can I'll say it like this. I don't want to go to the future being an old person and living off Social Security. At my job, I see that time and time again where people are living off of a $1,500 check with prices of food and like, and how much everything is now. That's not going to cut it. Even if Social Security even exists with all the people in this world. So, um, okay, for chapter 4, talking about taxes, yes, Ro, when they like the government can be, and it's not just the government, it's like the powers, the powers of the world, like they know what to do. When you have billions of dollars in marketing, you can really shape, like you can make the world yours. So, I mean, it's good when you're using it for something that's not going to hurt a lot of people, but whatever. Okay, so taxes, how the taxes work. People who work for money, they pay taxes. No, they work, earn, oh, Lord, earn, pay taxes, and spend. And then businesses earn, spend, and then pay taxes. I that connected with me so much because being in property management and it's real estate, at the end of the day. And like I'm seeing on my financials now that I'm like really digging into them, I'm seeing how my owners who are making a lot of money, they want me to put certain expenses they say below the line. And that is to make sure that I understand it now because of reading this, but like they want to make sure that these things are not being taxed. So that is helping their business grow. And holy crap, that's why it works, and that's why they're making so much money and they're not having to, I mean, I'm working for their money in reality. So I don't want to do that forever. It's insane, which actually kind of leads me to chapter 5, like how you really can just like make money out of anything. There was like where did it go? Lord. There was a note from the 20th anniversary of this talking about how it is how these entrepreneurs have these huge success stories, and it's like Zuckerberg, Bezos, of course, because they know what to do, and that's the hack. You have to know how to um work the system and make it work for you, which he talks about in this book, and it is definitely inspiring. I want to put this in practice. So I think I'm going to play the cash flow game. Like I have never played it before. And it's always like, he talks about it often in his book. And I really want to know how money works on like a really deeper scale. Okay, but yes, it's like I feel like if I completely know how money works and really dig into like these tax laws and how to make it all work, that I can just keep more money in my pocket. And like, he also talks about like how savers are losers. It's like you can't save forever. You save until one point and then you stop. You have your money saved, your emergency money, all that good stuff. And then now you got your money working for you in other places, earning you more income so that by the time you are old, you're not going to be living off of Social Security. You can actually, and that's really like how I see it long term. I just don't want to be poor. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to have to worry about how I'm going to pay rent and where I'm going to get things from. And the purpose is like, I have to have the education behind it. And these books, 100% give you that education, learn how to be the system, be financially free. All right, that's my take. And I'm going to pass it to Mikkel.
I'm gonna call you back. All right, bye. Yo, I caught a call. This is crazy synchronicity timing. I caught a call about 45 seconds ago. So I missed the last 45 seconds of what you said, Imani. And you was snapping. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was really mad that I answered that phone call, but it was for a purpose so that I could literally tell this story because I wanted to know what happened too. And this is wild. So one, shout out you for sticking around the multitudes of times that we've read this book as well and being present, actually reading it as well every single time because it's literally showing in how you're breaking down the information. And I'm really excited for your future and to just continue to watch it unfold real life. I appreciate you being here and your energy always. Same with you, Sam. Same with you, Roshizi, as well. Like, bro, squad is doing y'all thing. Marcus, obviously, you know the vibes. You know what I'm saying? We literally, like, I didn't even realize that we were having a whole conversation low key regarding parts of this chapter this morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with the video that I sent to my mom, I was completely left field and hadn't even associated it. But in that, y'all, over the last week and a half, I've been having real life situations that have been testing how not only that I live by these principles, but also that I'm like actually trying to teach people these principles and I'm like really living it rather than just getting on Zoom and talking about it, but like really out here doing it. And it's wild because in that, let me tell y'all a story. My guy Mike called me last Saturday. So last Saturday, had an event. It was phenomenal. My cousin's 50th birthday. Me and T was suited and booted. It was a vibe. We kicked it. My guy Mike pulled up with the camera. He's one of our photography and videography partners as well, and shot the whole night. It was great. You know what I'm saying? He did his thing. Sunday, he calls me like crashing out, damn near. And in that, long story short, he lost the camera. Other situations, honestly, it was due to financial illiteracy, period, and him just not taking care of his fiduciary responsibilities. We're gonna talk in big words because I ain't trying to put my man's business out there like that. But in that, so he lost the camera. He had already pawned off his other camera, and that had already sold because he missed some responsibilities there. So in that, he finds himself with no camera, with booked gigs. And also, this is a man who got out of prison like 3 years ago, just got off parole 3 months ago. Like, real life, close to the edge, like, called me on the edge, like, bro, I'm finna go pull up on these niggas that have been talking about this, that, and the third. And, but, like, we know a lot of people, mutual people. And he called me, and I literally saved this man from a crash out and I had to talk him off the edge. I was like, this is not happening. It was literally, excuse me, this was not Sunday, it was Monday, because it was as I walked into the crib from buying this car. I'm like all excited, like, yeah, God doing blessings, quit playing with me, we outside. Just got the title, boop, he calls me as I walk into my house as I'm about to wake up my wife. And my man's in tears. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? So in that, he's like, bro, I don't know what to do. I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that. I'm like, bro, rather than do all this illegal stuff, like, bro, kick it in gear, bro. Where you hustle at, bro? You calling me crashing out right now, but like, you ain't said nothing about a solution, my dog. Come on, what's up? How about we call and set up seven? I don't care whatever you need. Just pay me $100 so you can get this $700 and go buy this camera that you just told me about. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get creative. And that was one of the things that Robert broke down in this chapter as well. Like, as I was reading through, and I'm just like trying to find other things, because also this is my like fourth, fifth time reading this book. I've literally just tried to look for different things that I haven't always understood that aren't like, obviously, this is what he was trying to portray, but like, what was his mode of thinking behind what he wrote? And one of the things is like, as Imani just pointed out, you literally do not need money to make money. We say it all the time, it takes money to make money, but it actually doesn't. Like, even to buy this car, I literally woke up and had $20 in my account. Didn't know how much I was about to spend on this car. And then I was like, boom, let me go figure out call my guy. Hey, bro, you trying to check out on this website template I built for you the other day? One thing that he talks about in this book is actually owning intellectual property. Like, go find you some skills, go find you some tools, and go build out some things that you can literally, boop, all of a sudden $250 gets transferred to me. I go and buy this car and go take care of the title and everything else. You can literally make money out of thin air. You can literally make money out of opportunities. You just have to have creativity and confidence in the skill set that you've actually built. And that part literally can help you create money to be able to move through different situations. Period. Because now we just turned the intellectual property that got sold for $250 into a car that's worth $3,000. So now we can go and sell that car, use that car for whatever else my family needs, period, and go take care of all my other responsibilities. And then from there, it just led me into other different opportunities as well. So in that, like, those are just one of the things that he breaks down. Your intellectual property is an asset. Your skill set is an asset. literally your creativity is an asset. So you've got to flex these bones. And I don't think that a lot of people do enough. Like I was on the phone with my dog, I'm like, bro, it's $700. Like I understand crashing out about like 4, 5 bands, bro. I done been there. I was there in January. My nigga Marcus was sitting in the car with me as I was crying and I just got over it all. Like, it's crazy. I've been there. I've been at rock freaking bottom, don't know what to do, how this shit is about to happen at all whatsoever, and literally had to get creative and create a freaking opportunity up out of that thing. Shout out God, because between your creativity, and then God's work and that faith in the middle, that's how miracles happen in people's lives. And that's how what they talk about, like manifesting, creating blessings, all that. No, it's literally God meeting you in the middle of, hey, you work to the end of you can't work no more. And then I got you. I'm going to push you on that little step forward, period. But you've got to get creative. And I think that was one of the things that I wanted to point out in this entire chapter. That was a key takeaway for me. It's like when it comes to rich dad versus poor dad, rich dad doesn't wait. Rich people don't wait. They don't sit around and wait for opportunities. They get up and they go and create them with their creativity, with their skill set, and with the obstacle that's holding them back. They literally just turn it into a type of opportunity to grow. It's literally a perception difference. And so when it comes down to it, that was one thing I took away. Also, another big thing, I was in chapter 5, but another big thing is obviously when we're talking earlier, Roshizi was talking about it, like you bought a liability. He talked about it, cars, liability, I know it. But in that was literally my point of breaking that down of like, I use my intellectual property to go and buy the luxury, to go and pay for it, to go and buy the luxury, to go and move different other things, to go and pay for other things. It's literally about that process. And I think that's one key point that Rich Dad Poor Dad breaks down for people. And it's literally one of the reasons why we read this book over and over and over and over again, is because it continuously shifts that gear of not just knowing why the tax code is built not for us, but against us, people who don't start out with businesses, but understanding, one, if you understand that corporations are the ones who actually change the game, and then if you come into this world wanting, believing, and thinking that you want to change the game, you have to figure out how to create a corporation, period. And if you don't understand how the corporations move, you won't understand how to move, because that part of the system is not changing. It hasn't changed for thousands of years. So you've got to literally figure out how to shift your entire life into moving like a corporation. You've got to understand the law if you didn't start out understanding the law, and you can't go and afford a lawyer. You've got to understand accounting if you can't go and afford an accountant. You've got to go and understand all of these pieces of the things. And he talks about all of the things. And then from there, it's up to you to go and do the work and go do your own research, go work as hard as you can go. And then God meets you at the end of where you can't work no more and your miracles happen. But this is a key part of the process of that shift and that paradigm shift that happens mentally. That's one reason why I love this whole book. In chapter 4 and chapter 5, they break down 2 of my favorite parts where it's like, hey, literally get up off your butt, go use what you got and go create money, period. Rich people are not spending their time earning money, they are creating it with the money that they earn. It's literally a flow. And as you get into that flow of, hey, let me not quit my job, but let me not just focus on my job. Let me actually utilize my job, whatever income that I'm making, to feed other things over here. Literally, all of the money that I've made this week went to paying bills and paying other little subscriptions and everything else that I have for our business. Literally. So in that, it's like we're constantly reinvesting, and as you consistently reinvest and you mind the business that pays you and you build up things that create you income, build up assets that create you income, build up intellectual properties that create you income, create skill sets that lead you into creating different businesses and different assets as well. From there, you can literally shift your entire life, and it's a whole paradigm shift that happens. So it's fire. That's my take on it. Marcus, Roshizi. I know Roshizi has something to say before you go. But go ahead. Or don't go.
Go ahead, Ro.
You ain't got it.
I mean, okay, I was gonna let everybody speak once before I spoke again, but it was just what you were talking about corporations, that's the part that I left out, is that's the loophole that rich people use. And it's I was thinking about how I used to believe in, like, subscribe to the belief that like money is the root of all evil, and like rich people are what's the word, unethical. Like I remember when it was announced that Rihanna had became the first like black woman billionaire in the world, and the internet was like dragging her, eating her up, like that is just the worst thing you could be, is a billionaire. Now you're just like every other rich person. And like I remember sharing one of those posts on my story, and like I have, ever since reading this book for the first time, like my mind has been changing around money and what it means, and how I think about it. And like the truth is, or at least like Robert Kiyosaki's truth in this book is like explaining how like money is not the root of all evil. The lack of money is, and the lack of like education around it, because like what rich people do really is just play the game smarter. Like they open corporations so that they can like basically get they use their business to fund it, like pay for everything, and then they pay taxes last. And the poor people, they pay taxes first and use whatever's left over to pay their expenses, right? And
Yeah.
so like that's what I was talking about when I said the loophole. And the the whole like excuse me, I just read this a few weeks ago, right? And I was so ready to open a corporation. I googled like how to open a corporation in Minnesota, and like the Minnesota government website like lays it all out. And I was like, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. And me and Amber were talking about it, like when, at what stage in our business do we open a corporation? Because you don't want to open a corporation before you're ready. It will end up being it will become a liability and it be more expensive than it is an asset until you're like ready for it. But like just learning all the stuff is such a cool experience. And yeah, I don't know, I that whole thing about like money is a game, like, and once we understand the game, then we can play the game, and we can play the game smarter, and that's exactly what wealthy people do. And so instead of like wasting my energy being mad at people for being rich and having what I don't have, like I would rather do the things that they do, which is like reading this book and other books, and like what I was doing yesterday, writing down my goals, getting action steps to doing my goals, and like just doing a little bit every day to get closer to that. Because like anybody's capable. There are so many stories about how people, the whole rags to riches, like people who came from nothing and are now so wealthy financially. And it's not because they got lucky, it's because they created that reality. And I think he talks about that too with luck. We don't get luck or lucky, we create our luck.
Amen. I don't believe in luck. I agree with that. And I appreciate you sharing that because I'm gonna kind of piggyback on it. First off, I want to touch on the fact of like you not being ready to start the corporation. I don't think you're ever ready to start. It's the act of doing it after you've learned it. And I say this from experience because Mikkel and I had very intentional conversations about starting the TGF Network LLC for some time, about the right timing, about when, about are we ready to do that step yet? And I believe it's important to plan to ensure what you're going to do once the LLC is created or once the corporation is created. And then as you move it to an S corp or whatever the case might be, you have to know the intention behind it so that you can start the ball, right? But if you have the mindset of, hey, let's not rush into it because we're not ready, you will run into a situation where you should have,
You know you should have did it.
but you didn't. And I speak out of complete experience because me and Mikkel were sitting looking at each other and we are like, bro, the conversation we had about 4 months ago, we both like without even saying a word, we were like, we knew we should have and we didn't. And it put us in a tight spot because instead of essentially using this is a cheat code, y'all. If you got the book, let me explain something. If you got the book and it's in front of you, you should go and like write this on a sheet of paper and look at it every single freaking day. Because when you understand how Robert Kiyosaki flows the income, then you can start actively doing those things. And that's the perspective and paradigm that I was reading chapter 4 in. Because y'all, it is not a game when you're actively just you put yourself in the game, as Rashizi said, you give yourself the chance. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't have to like the game. The game is there though. And if you decide not to play, you automatically lose. The only way you give yourself a shot is if you take the risk of actually playing the game that is going to set you up to lose anyways. So you don't necessarily have much to lose. Everything is risky. And I think that's the biggest part that that I got from the entirety of both chapters reading was this one note that I made. What you know is your greatest wealth. What you do not know is your greatest risk. There's always going to be a risk. Learn to manage it. It's not about whether or not you're taking the risk because it's risky that you're not risking nothing. Like, I don't think people fully grasp this concept. Um, and with the risking, whether it's your time, whether it's the things that you know you should have done or you didn't, or that you did do and you shouldn't have, there's always something that you are wagering. The cost is always being paid. This is like a dynamic that I believe in biblically. This is a dynamic. Everything's really risky. Yes. My subconscious mind has been extremely influenced by that man, Uncle Jimmy. So I sound a lot like him in a lot of the things that I say. And I aim to live my life in the way that he actually helped us understand these principles too. Because they, as we talk about in all these books, they all say the same things. They're just saying it a little differently, right? Even when it comes to like savers or losers, right? If you're saving, you're a loser. And the previous book that we read with the richest man in Babylon, he talked about instead of just saving your money in a place where it's not getting any return, put your money in places where your money can work for you. So it's not the fact of you not keeping your money, it's you putting your money in areas that will return it and allow you to have more income to utilize. It's a whole different paradigm shift, right? And when he goes over this diagram, right? Whether it's your corporation income statement or it's a business entity, right? Something that stands as its own governing body but has no soul. You can use it to your advantage to pay yourself. And then you use the income that you pay from yourself to yourself to go and handle expenses that pay the business to pay you more money. It is literally bread being cycled, right? And then there's just one lone thing that has nothing coming in but constantly feeds your business and you. And those are your assets. And like I really love how the arrow kicks off from the asset column because he wants you to focus there, right? Everybody's got liabilities. Everybody's got a liability. You can't avoid them. But you've got to minimize your liabilities and you've got to maximize your assets in order to have more resources to go and win the game that you're already in, that you're set up to lose if you do not participate with a thought process, right? And the biggest thing that stood out to me is as I read chapter 4, because this past year from reading it, we've been actively running this play, right? He says at the end of the chapter, business owners with corporations first earn, then they spend, and then they pay taxes. Everyone else earns, pays taxes, and then they spend. And their main focus is to spend the money. Like it's actually wild. Every time I hear somebody get a paycheck or a payday, like they are screaming with both their words and their actions, let's go spend and blow this bread. Because they have no idea what they're doing. And it's not their fault, but it is their job to understand. And everybody I do believe gets exposed, right? This is why we have the 4 levels of learning. And shout out Donovan because he constantly always repeats it. And for the longest time, like I've always understood it, but it really stood out to me these 2 chapters because it requires an intentional effort. And that forces you to really embody what chapter 5 talks about, and that is using your mind to visualize things that other people's eyes do not see, and the opportunities that present themselves, and the timing when they present themselves, and in the manner that you're called to capitalize on it. I fervently believe, y'all, everyone's opportunity of a lifetime is not going to look exactly the same as everyone else's, but it's going to be taken up by somebody else if you do not actually utilize it, because God will use someone else. He don't care. He really does not care. He's like, bro, I can choose whoever I want to work with. You go look at the Bible and peep the peeps that he's actually used. So if you don't utilize your mind to go and recognize these opportunities with what it is you know, then you essentially set yourself up to not even have a chance, right? And the four stages of learning are this. One is unconscious incompetence. And I don't want to go on a tangent, so I'm going to read y'all my notes on it. So, unconscious incompetence. The skill is not on your radar. Whatever topic you're trying to learn, you don't even know about yet. You don't know what is good or bad or what it might be. You don't know what you don't know. Ignorance is bliss. It's literally the point where you're unexposed. You're just living, right? At the end of the day, we're all pretty young. I know some people still feel like they're a little older, but we're all pretty young in retrospect to our entire expectancy of life. All of us can double our age and we're still in the range of before 100, which means odds are we might live a good amount of our time here. That means we're early on and we're still getting exposed to new things we have not learned yet. Unconscious incompetence. Knowledge leads to conscious incompetence. You are now aware of what it is you do not know, and you decide you wanted to acquire it. Wealth, trading, leading, sales, speaking, communication, building a better relationship. This is all, it's not just about money making skills, but it's literally everything. It is unlikely that you'll be good at it at first, but when compared to someone else who has already possessed the skill, you understand it's possible. All right. Third step is conscious competence. And the only way you do that is if you pair the knowledge with experience. And I believe this is where I'm going to give Mikhail and I a little props because we've been really operating as business owners out here when we've never fully ran a business before. We've just learned and have been applying throughout the process. Right. Third, conscious competence. You can do the skill as long as you think about it. You got to think about it. While it doesn't come naturally to you yet, you display a level of competence and people understand that you know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, bet. So we're there, we understand, we're not quite experts yet. And the expertise comes with further experience. So you couple the knowledge in your first experience with even more experience. You teach, you learn twice. Number four is unconscious competence. You don't have to think about it. It's in you, not on you. You can do the skill now like it's on the back of your hand, and you are free to think of higher things to do with said skill. That lie on top of the base skill itself changes the game. And y'all, as you step into unconscious competence, you have the ability to serve more people and to do more with what it is that you've learned. But it takes time and it takes a willingness to overcome this fear that he talks about in chapter 5. In chapter 5, he says this. Oh, it's so good, y'all. Chapter 5 is my favorite chapter. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because he's really like, y'all need to shut up and change your perspective and do the damn thing, and you got it. Because money that you're after ain't even real, and you got to be a better person. It's not about the money, it's about you. That's literally all he's saying throughout the chapter. Boom. He says this. Damn, I just had it. Okay. Boom. The more we learn, the more money we can make simply because we gain experience and wisdom as the years go on. Literally what I just read to y'all between the conscious competence and the unconscious competence, right? Going from, I bet. I don't know, I have to think about it anymore. I can look at the charts. I know when to buy, I know when to sell, and I'm out. I'm done for the day. That's a real life skill, y'all. I don't think y'all recognize it. Give yourself some claps because it's real life. I see people operating in it when at first we were like, how the hell do we enter the market? I don't want to lose my money. You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyways, it is not gambling if you know what you're doing. It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal and you're praying that something works. Therefore, I don't gamble. I literally, y'all, I'm not gonna lie to you. The one thing that irks my soul, even to this day, I understand analytics and people can get really good at it. I cannot stand gambling, y'all. It's so annoying because you're literally praying for somebody else to do something that's completely out of your control for your own benefit. And I get it. I know whenever I got the bag to blow, I might do a gamble or so because it's fun and it's cool. I get it. But
Nobody
no,
out here cares about
in
you.
the pro in the process, bro. I'm gonna bet on me. Like I'm not gambling if I'm putting my money into my greatest asset, which is my mind. That's just exactly what the chapter is speaking on. Is you've got to understand that winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is a part of the process of success. People who avoid failure also avoids success. So in order to start participating in the game, you first have to recognize, and he says, great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. And he says that there are two kinds of investors, and we should be the second one. I'm not even going to go in the first one, but the second one is investors who create investments. And the second type of investor, who is the more professional investor, um, boom, know people who know how. And the first step, the first
Boom!
They know people who know how, bro. The first step is find an opportunity that everyone else missed. That requires you to use your mind more than you use your eyes. It requires faith. It requires you to look at the fear and the self-doubt and build confidence. He really talks about, I don't even know where it's at. It's so annoying. Because he's financial genius, right? He said requires both technical knowledge as well as courage. The only reason why you don't participate in courage is because you have a degree of self doubt and self confidence that you lack. So the only way that you can build that up is if you do things continuously that you have not done, so you have better confidence. Therefore, you have more courage, and you'll take the knowledge that you have and you'll go apply more, right? The past year, I have invested more in crypto and in other routes of income that have allowed me to go and make money for me than I've ever have in my life. And it's been terrifying, but it's exciting at the same time because I know what I'm doing and I'm not gambling. Like I've learned. And I'm hopefully if you're catching a recording or you are listening to the sound of my voice right now, I'm encouraging y'all to like choose faith over the fear, y'all. It really is. You cannot, I've talked about it every time we've talked about this chapter, but faith and fear cannot coexist in the same space. They cannot exist without each other. Can't have faith without fear, can't have fear without faith. But they once you choose one, you forfeit the other. And he's saying that majority of the time when it comes to finances because we're incompetent and we start understanding like, oh damn, I don't know as much as I should. You have to make a decision of like, I am afraid of the things I do not know, and I've got to go take a step to figure that out. And that's the biggest part I see time after time after time after time again. People know the knowledge and then just not do because they're afraid of the risk that it comes with, even though they're literally risking the most by not even attempting. It's actually wild. And it requires a different crazy faith again soon. Yes, it requires a different mind shift, right? So you have to find the opportunity with your mind, not your eyes. Number two, raise capital. We're working on it. We're getting it. You know what I'm saying? So this is a big part. Raise capital, and there are many ways that don't require a bank. Learn how to do that which stops most people. I'm going to say that again because all of us, y'all, are guilty of it. We come to something that will stop most people, and for a second, we stop. And we're like, hold on. Can I really do this? Is this possible? What do I got going on? How's it even going to work out for me? But you've got to understand that when you feel like you're stumped and you have a higher degree of determination, desire, and want for what it is you're going after, you got to know, hey, I'm either going to be like the majority or I'm going to do different. And when that moment you find yourself like, all right, I'm about to stop. I don't know if I should invest anymore. It's tight this month. But nah, you agreed to an entire percentage game plan, right? Hopefully you guys wrote out your story and your cash flow and you talked about what assets. Shout out Ro. I heard you say that you just did that, girl. Congratulations for real, because that's part of the process with your writing down your goals and looking at your assets, putting in the different columns. Like that type of work is the brain power that most people don't do, but it's going to help you raise the capital you need to go do the plays that you want. And it all you have to understand is if you can avoid the obstacle that majority of people let their lack of money stop them from making a deal, you will be millions ahead of those who do not learn these skills. Like, stop using your excuse of that you don't have enough bread or you don't got enough time to actually go do the things you need to do, and you'll figure it out, and things will actually turn out in your favor, right? Because most people are avoiding the obstacle and you're facing it head on. And then the third, um, again, it's what you know more than what you buy. Investing is not buying, it's more of a case of knowing. So his third is organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with or hire a person who is more intelligent than they are. When you need advice, make sure you choose your advisor wisely. I'm very grateful for our network, y'all. We're around a lot of people who are experts at what they do. And it really allows us to be good at what we do. And when you get around individuals that are in tune with that focus, we all come to the table with value, and then we're able to receive value too. And that's where the real wealth really starts, because it's, as he just said, y'all, the money's not even real. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about finding solutions to problems. And you use the money as a tool. And the more you start using it as a tool, the more tools you have to solve the problems that you face. That's all it's ever been. That's all it's ever been, family. One last little note from chapter 5. Boom. One last note. Sorry, y'all. I think I wrote it in my note here. Okay. All right. So he talked about today's wealth. This is the last thing I want to touch on. Today's wealth. Remind you, this book I bought in 2016. Okay, so it's even more so and true today than it is when he first wrote the book. And mind you, he first wrote the book 20 years prior to when I bought it. So it's been escalated to this date. And he says today's wealth is an information error. This will increase multimillionaires while others are left behind. What have we been peeping, y'all, over the last 5 years? People are making money from Wi-Fi, like cold cash. Like today or last week, I ran into a dude who owns a car detailing business, and I hadn't had the time to chop it up with him for a while. He came up to me, and we were able to actually catch up. I asked him how he was doing, how his business was going, whole 9 yards. Essentially, ask the questions that you want to get asked, right? He eventually asked me, say, how's everything with you, bro? I'm like, bro, business is booming, man. I'm grateful. I'm excited, and we got a lot of things popping in terms of what we're doing. And he was like, okay, well, what do you got going on? I was like, well, I own a marketing agency on one half of the coin, bro, but the majority of our focus as a company, in our organization is helping people learn how to make money online. He was like, bro, the fact y'all make money online is crazy to me. He was like, it's actually wild. I was like, bro, it's always been about the time for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a damn if I'm making 60K a year, but if I'm making that on my time, that's different than having to show up to work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, having 80-hour months every 2 weeks. Like, what are we talking about? I'm like, it's really about how you make the money. It's not how much money you're making. And he was like, bro, absolutely. And from there, we had a conversation. Turns out he had a conversation with my brother a few days ago, and he's been really looking to our marketing services, and we're probably going to do some business together soon. So it's really cool, y'all, just like being able to grow and develop, and just know that you guys have skill sets and an ability to make money from anywhere on the planet because you have access to technology, information, and Wi-Fi in a way that people 20 years ago didn't have access to, but you are like in the forefront of this era of what we got going on, and things are about to change extremely fast. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful, y'all. Be excited when you see the robots. Be Have that awe factor whenever you see cars driving themselves. Know that the same day delivery are powered by robots and droids to get the package from the warehouse to your front door. Take it in, it's exciting, but understand that you're gonna know a lot of people who are gonna be stepping into a season where they have absolutely no idea what to do because they have no basis of financial literacy. And you have the opportunity to be a financial genius and guide for people that are going to need the help. Like it's not of, I really believe it's a moral obligation, especially if you know and have skill sets that can go and serve those around you in the communities that you're in. And if you don't, honestly, black and white, you're selfish. Like you're literally not willing to go and help other people figure out a solution to their problems. And I'm always about making sure your cup is full. I'm always about making sure your household is in order. But I know that we are called to serve one another out of the gifts that we have and the love that was displayed to us. So I encourage y'all as we're in this season and there are multimillionaires being created every month faster than there's ever been before. And this widened gap continues to wide where the middle class that doesn't understand taxes, that don't know how to have the right mindset when it comes to money and the rich, and knowing exactly how to play the game, I encourage y'all to continuously get to the point where most people stop because of their lack of resources or their lack of willingness to just think about a possible solution to problems that they're facing in order to, as we call it, use their figure it out bone. Like just take a second and process your situation and write out some solutions. And like know that the world is not going to end tomorrow unless Jesus comes. But no one knows. So odds are you're probably going to be here till you're 80 and if you are alive to this day, you have been through the worst days of your life. Congratulations. We're doing the thing and we're still here and we still got breath in our lungs. And I know I went extremely long and I don't apologize for that. I just really wanted to like zone in on the fact of the matter is these two chapters probably the most practical because he's telling you what to do and he's hoping that you do it. And it's crazy how the first couple times I read these books, I was completely consciously incompetent. And then consciously working on my competence, but I wasn't doing the things that he was talking about until the last 2 years, y'all. And things have been moving and grooving towards a different trajectory once you start using the money in the way that it was designed. So I encourage you, if you feel like you're afraid to take the risk, understand the risk is there and you're going to go take it anyway. So just do so with the mindset of like, all right, I'm going to take this risk and put a bet on myself. I'm going to go and invest in that company that I've been studying. I'm going to go and invest in that crypto coin that I know is about to take off. Bitcoin. Please go buy some. Okay, but anyways, I love y'all. And I'll shut up now. Pat, you can close out the call, bro. What was your biggest takeaways from chapter 4 and 5 when it comes to taxes and knowing that the rich invented money? Hashtag XRP. Amen. All right, go ahead.
Hey guys. Yeah, I didn't even see the announcement in the text group. I was doing other shit, but anyways, so funny enough, I might kind of steer away from that, but I I started doing taxes. I was actually a tax man for about shoot, man, over the past 12 years, right? I took these courses about taxes, and funny enough, it's like anything, right? When you get into any industry, any business, any line of work, the more you get into the industry, the more you start finding out things, right? The more people that you connect with, and you really start to see some things, right? You start to see behind the curtain the more that you are in that field or line of work, right? And this isn't just with taxes. This is with freaking everything, right? And so honestly, I did one season in the store, right? One season in the store with these people, and I met a couple guys, and this one guy said to me, he said, "Bro, like on the side, like honestly." Just do taxes for people yourself, like they don't pay worth a shit up here. And I was like, that's that's easy, like sure, why not? And immediately the first season, I had literally 20 people come to me asking me to do their taxes for them on the side, right? Like, did you know the average tax return to do like cost $400 to $600? And this was 10 plus years ago, right? $400 to $600, and that's like doing the easier tax returns, right? And nobody wants to do it, right? And so I did it for a couple years, just making, when tax season comes, made a little extra side bread, right? And then eventually, when I was doing well enough at my other job, I was like, getting some pay raises, whatever. And eventually I was like, you know what? I don't want to do taxes for anybody anymore. What happened a lot of the time was people would give me their taxes and I would say, I'd get them. And then, man, I'd be like, I really don't even want to do these. Right. And so, anyways, long story short, I tried to get out of the game. Right. I said, I don't want to do taxes anymore. Every year for the next like 8 years, I promise you, I had everybody. It was like drugs. It was like drugs. Like, these people would be coming to me at the beginning of the tax season. Hey man, you're gonna do my taxes this year, right? You're still gonna do my taxes? Nah, bro, I told you. I told you. No, I'm not doing them anymore. Anyways, so my point is like, people get addicted to paying their taxes, right? Whereas wealthy people, as Marco said, they pay taxes last, right? um but one of the biggest lessons I learned from it is every time, and from then on out, when I started doing it and finding out all these things, you know all these people, they have a business no matter what. All these people who told me, they said, do you have a business? And I would ask this every single client that I took on. Honestly, I told every single client I took on, I said, you have a business, right? And they'd be like, no, 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 no. And I say, you have a business, right? And they'd be like, no, 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 I don't. I just work that. No, 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 no. You have a business, right? Because people, honestly, what they don't understand is, in the United States, you don't need anything, nothing, to own a business. You don't need an LLC. You don't need any of that crap. You say, I'm a sole proprietorship. I have a business, right? Automatically, that gets you to write off whatever you want. Whatever you want. It's the craziest thing, right? And so, but business owners understand that to the next level. To the next level, right? They own C corps, S corps, all that crap, LLCs, and honestly, it's just all the front, Oh, I got 10 cars, whatever, it's absurd, right? Some of these people's taxes that I have come in, and they file it themselves. They file it themselves. Why do we? And this kind of goes along with the chapter, I'll tell you, right? It's about knowing people, getting out of your own way and letting a professional handle something to that extent, right? Like, no, man. And it's funny because I have this one example. My cousin, I've been doing his taxes since I had started doing that, right? And one day, he had gone off. He moved away, and then while he was away, he was doing his own taxes, and he put on Facebook. He put a post, and he posted, right, and he said, "Hey, can you do my taxes this year or whatever?" And somebody else comes in, right, and they said on the post, they literally said, hey man, you can just do it. It's so easy. Do it on TurboTax for yourself. And my cousin literally responded. I didn't say shit, right? But he responded and he tagged me and he said, well, because if a professional doesn't do it, then I miss out on a lot of things that I can take as tax write-offs, right? And I was just like, I don't even need to contribute to the, he just mic dropped for me, right? So a lot of the times people get in their own way, right? They get in their own way because they don't want to let a professional handle it, If you're not a professional, then, get someone else to do it. You know, half the times we end up making something worse than it is already if we don't get out of our own way, right? So that was one of the things I wrote down from Marcos talking is coming together. Like this network, you know, birds of a feather flock together, right? You know, it just is what it is. Us being surrounded by these people, this group, this network, all of this, it's just, it's, to me, it's extraordinary, you know? And so I will, um, talk about uh, that with an example, right? Because I want to just tell y'all, and I'm trying not to, you know, keep this long because I have so much. There is, I could talk for freaking days on that topic, but I will tell y'all because I myself have been in this business with my business partner of a company called Get Your Valet, right? And Get Your Valet, how did I come across this business is my favorite story to tell, right? It took us 7 years. We are on our 7th year in business, right? And finally got to this point where I was profitable. As he says, what's it? It's competence, right? Just autopilot, right? Autopilot stuff, right? So a long time ago, when I was, so about 14 years ago, I was installing DirecTV satellite when I was going to school. Went to ITT Tech, right? And I was installing satellite. I met this guy. His name's Chris Ross, one a good friend of mine, right? He was a business owner from Florida, from Miami, right? Moved to Austin and met his wife. Blah blah blah. And so Chris Ross, when I first started installing satellite, this dude was like, he's a goofy guy, right? But super cool. I thought he was super cool, right? And he has all this electrician experience, right? And installing satellite. Yeah, no, Chris Ross. And so, anyways, Chris Ross, we became kind of cool really quickly, right? And Chris Ross, he left the company we were working for real quick, and I did shortly afterwards, but we kept in contact, right? Me and Chris. And over the next 10 years, right? I had worked multiple other satellite companies and then multiple jobs at the airport, scooter company, you name it, right? Got into network marketing, got back in contact with him, brought him into network marketing with ACN, right? A couple of y'all, I'm sure, have heard of ACN, right? That was my first network marketing company, right? And Chris Ross and his wife come into this business and they literally start bringing in business owners and all this stuff. And long story short, the company wasn't paying them worth of shit. They decided to quit and not doing ACN because they had like 60 customers, and these are like big company phone lines, all that jazz, and they were making like $200 a month in residuals, right? So they got tired, fed up. Anyways, don't want to go down that line, right? But coming to the point of my story, right? I went split off, and so this is like a 10-year gap from when I met this dude, right? And I was running a transportation company, right? Managing 80 plus drivers, this and that. And I knew that company was going out of business. And so I jumped ship and and went and I told my buddy Chris Ross. I came back to him and I said, "Hey man, I'm in the middle of this, maybe trying to get another job or whatever I'm gonna do, right? I don't really know, but let me join your business." I talked my way into a position with this dude's company, right? We've been friends for 10 years at this point. I told him straight up, "Hey man, let me come into your business. Let me form some structure because right now you're just a mom and pop, but let's grow this business." And we went into I went in and his wife wouldn't get out of the way, right? She was coming in, everything that I was doing, she was like double checking, right? Double checking it. At the end of about 2 months in, I told him, I said, hey man, like you're not letting me do what you hired me to do, you know? So, I, I I'm just gonna let you go, right? I'm gonna let you go, right? Well, one of our last customers we had, we went into this house to do some basic cable work, and I met this guy. He was about to retire, had a big old house, retiring from the military, 27 years. This man spent 27 years in the army, right? Crazy just to get this retirement. Doing really well though, pretty high rank, okay guy. And I asked him, I said, hey, what are you going to do when you retire? And he said, when I retired from the military, and everybody, they get two options. They ask you, they say, hey, do you want us to teach you how to run a business or start a business? Or do you want us to teach you how to get a good resume? And he chose business. And he had written this business when he was back in college, this business idea. And I said, hey, you know what? Let me talk to you, like let's grab some lunch. And I just got out of a transportation business. He told me the idea. And I said, I just got out of a transportation business as a manager, and I've got tons of experience in business, you know. Let's talk. We went and had lunch. And then after that, this is 7 years later, and we started off this company doing it took us about 5 months to get our first client. No, I actually just talked about this with him yesterday. I thought it was 4 or 5 months. This was 8 months when we found our first client, right? We got our first client, they signed up, and we were doing maybe 20 trips a month, right? Get this, I was working a job at the same time as trying to do this business with my partner Brian, right? We're going out trying to hit the road, get more clients. We are putting our heads down and just grinding, right? For 8 months till we get one client. I'm working at the airport. I was working at a scooter company. I was doing everything, right, to pay the bills while I'm building this business. So we get our first client. And we would go on trips together, right? Taking one or two cars a day, right? We pick up cars, we bring them to the dealership to get worked on. When they're done getting worked on, we bring them back to them. So we go and we would go, and sometimes we would get one car a day, We were lucky to hit 20 trips a month, right? Well, 7 years later, now we do, between 60 to 80 trips a day now, right? Split between four cities. We are now in San Antonio. We are now in Houston. We are now in Dallas and Austin, right? Well, my point is, what I really want to drive home from this is the network. If I had never gone and started installing DirecTV, right, and met Chris Ross years ago, right, 10 years it took for me to meet my business partner, Brian Robinson, right? So, it really is about coming together and being around the right people. You surround yourself with the right people, and what you desire, what you want, it will just come to you. It'll come to you. As Marco said before, you attract who you are, not what you want, right? So anyways, that was my main point with that. And then that quote I sent you guys in the chat. I heard John C. Maxwell speak, and that quote alone just changed my life, my perspective, so much stuff, right? He says, you may not be able to do everything that you find out about, but you can surely find out about everything that you can do, right? Like, what does that mean? Right? In my mind, it's so simple, right? Find opportunities, grow that grow the most expensive asset, right? Or the most cherished asset that you have, right? Look for it. Look for it, you know? I always talk about, it's so funny because my friends, my like, you know, other close friends, right? We don't talk business. We don't do shit, right? Except, you know, a couple days out of the week. I mean, these are people I've known for over 30 years. And and we just play games, this and that, whatever, right? Here or there. And that's the extent. But it's so funny because a lot of the times they're always like, you know, they're always like, oh, you're doing those things, right? You're doing those things or whatever, right? And and it's cool. Like I don't care, whatever. You guys are teasing, but it's so funny because in my head, and I've said it out loud to them, I don't care, right? I'm like, yeah, go F yourself, right? But I'm like, you know, it's so funny how I've brought so much opportunity to all of you guys, right? So much opportunity I've brought to everyone. And how many times have any of y'all brought opportunity to me, right? You know, so and it's totally fine, right? But I like to surround myself and spend majority of my time around other people who are trying to help me eat as much as I'm trying to help y'all eat, right? You know, it's so crazy. So that's why, and as you know, Robert Kiyosaki says it, there's so many people talk about it, but they're like, you know, those people are great, but you know, limited association, limited association, right? They're cool. I'll meet up with them once, twice a year, you know, once or twice a year. But my true network and the people that I choose to spend 99% of my time with is these people right here, you know? These people who add to my plate, not just take from it, you know? Anyways, that's pretty much oh, one more last quote is when I started the network marketing stuff, right? And I do it a little differently now. I'm not interested in bringing in anybody who, I'm a product of the product, right? I need to be able to do before I can teach others to do, right? And I'm not really interested, I know, but a quote that I did that always stuck with me when I first started network marketing was the whole, they say this in every networking group, right? They say, "Hey, you know, you have that friend. How would you feel if you had that friend, right, who came to you and said, 'Hey, you knew about this and you never told me?'" You know, and that stuck in my head for so many years, you know, because I surely didn't want anybody that I knew to come and say that to me.
Yeah. What? Pat, I had some gems thrown through the camera, your face, man. You done snap, bro. That was crazy. No, genuinely, bro. And like, I think that's the part, like just having the willingness to always be willing to help somebody see a door that is open.
Yeah.
Um, it's been a very kind of resounding message that I've been seeing in my life recently. But Mikhail and I were talking about it too, and we've seen this video or we heard it from a pastor, and it's always like stood out with us. But like, just because a door is open doesn't mean you need to run through it. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's your job to help somebody understand that this door that's open is for them too. Like, and from a biblical perspective, some I know we all like genuinely walk in the faith and want to serve people in that regard. Like God uses people, and He might be using us too. Be like, hey, bro, I don't want to be the guy that didn't open my mouth and tell you about how I'm about to go and fulfill my purpose and the type of life that I'm going to go live with the people that I'm going to do it with. So I think it's extremely important what you said, man. Just and yeah, bro, people be stepping sideways in that regard. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take that. I'm yo, as you bring to my plate, because I can count on both my
Yeah.
hands. Many
Yeah,
times
bro.
I filled you up. No, and it's real life, man. And like people get it twisted because I think it's one, it's psychological. It's what you said at the very beginning of your take. And it's like people are addicted to paying taxes because that's all they've ever known.
Yeah,
I'm used to the
100%.
government taking taxes out of my. I don't want to pay you a large sum later,
Yeah,
but
heck no.
they'll complain every time that the paycheck got a
I
the
mean,
tax thing out of that thing
we
too.
pay taxes on our money. We pay taxes on spending our money.
On
We
my
pay
food,
taxes after spending our money, bro.
like you don't tax me as I earn my money too. It's actually wild, but I'm proud of us for constantly one stepping into it, and I feel like our network is the most connected it's ever been with people who are actively putting these things to use versus
Heck yeah.
just learning about it. And the network is extremely powerful. So I appreciate what you said, bro, in terms of what we're all contributing and building together. And I'm looking forward to our discussion next week. So that being said, we are going over chapters 6 and 7. We got 2 more weeks until the book is done. 2 more weeks until the book is done.
One more thing, I need to talk to you at some point, Marcus. I
Okay.
got something I want to talk to you about.
Okay, bet.
Wale told me to talk to you about it.
Okay. Okay, bet. Well, I'm excited to hear what that is then. But yeah, chapter 6 is work to learn, don't work for money. And then chapter 7 is overcoming obstacles. And then we'll wrap up the book the following week. Catch next week so you know exactly what book we're going to be tuning in to 2 weeks after the fact. And I appreciate everybody's takes. It was a fire discussion. Shout out y'all. OGs, much love. We'll see y'all at the top.
Have a great day. My bad, Marcus. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.
Happy Saturday. Later, girl.